So, as another hockey season is rapidly approaching for us Panther fans, it's most definitely time to give thanks for finding ourselves smack dab in the middle of what could possibly be a Stanley Cup repeat, or at the very least, another long playoff run into June. Anytime you scroll through the comments on any Panthers content, you find plenty of people giving huge praise to Bill Zito. And rightfully so. We are very blessed as Cats fans, from the owners to the coach to the GM to the fans, right down to our impressive playoff beards. The Panthers have it all, and we know it. But as someone who has a tendency to like the underdog, or at least the underappreciated, I cannot help but notice the one name that seems to be universally missing from the conversation. That name is Dale Talon. Now, I started this channel in the fall of 2016 after our slow start, but just before Gallant got fired. My ire was mainly directed at ownership for moving Talon out of the GM role and trading away Eric Branson and eventually Stanley Cup Game 7 hero Dmitry Kulikov. Sure, it was technically Tom Rowe who did the damage, but we all knew it was ownership who had drank the analytics Kool-Aid, which is fine, except they drank up about a full gallon in one gulp and then they threw up the steak dinner they just had. In other words, too much too soon. Now sure, Talon would get put back in the driver's seat the following season, but the damage was done and fresh blood was needed, leading to the hiring of Bill Zito in 2020. Now since then, we all know the story. Pulling one of the best defensemen in the league off waivers in Gustav Forsling, robbing the Tampa Bay Lightning of Carter Verhaeghe, trading for guys like Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, drafting Anton Lundell with his first ever draft pick, and finding backup goalie after backup goalie in guys like Drieger, Lyon, and Stolars. And of course, making the biggest trade in the NHL in possibly decades to acquire Matthew Tkachuk, all leading to a Stanley Cup championship with possibly more to come. But what was Talon's contribution to the current roster? Well, more than you would think. First, Talon took 4 top 5 picks and turned them into Barkov, Huberdeau, Gudbranson, and Ekblad. The only player on that list that does not have an effect on the Panthers winning the Cup was Gudbranson, whose trade tree basically runs into a brick wall of nothing. Barkov and Ekblad are obviously still important pieces on the team, and Huberdeau helped Florida finally manage to win a playoff round and then was sent packing as part of the deal to get Tkachuk. The main part of the deal, in fact. The other main part of that deal? 7th round draft pick Mackenzie Weegar, who was drafted the same year as Barkov. It's not exactly terrible work. Now, it might sound like a little bit of historical revision, but looking at the big picture, I really don't blame Talon for some of the missteps in the few years before Zito got here. Talon had a plan, and whether or not you agree that plan was going to work, ownership interrupted that plan, sent guys packing, and then put Talon back in charge a year later with Franken-Team. It was partially Talon's gritty guys and partially Rowe's analytic darlings. Talon was unable to right the ship completely after Rowe had given guys like Keith Yandle and Jason Demers long-term deals. Now, all that said, the longest-lasting effect Talon has had on the team is at goaltender. In the space of 10 days in 2019, Talon first drafted Spencer Knight and then signed Bobrovsky to his infamous $10 million deal, possibly setting up the Panthers for 15 to 20 straight years of excellent goaltending. And don't forget who's helping to mentor Spencer Knight. None other than Roberto Luongo, who Talon managed to reacquire back in 2014. So to summarize, the Cats went from Luongo to Bobrovsky to possibly Spencer Knight, all thanks to Dale Talon. That kind of contribution cannot be understated, and nobody has given Zito more praise than I, and certainly I've given Talon his share of grief. Did he have some swings and misses? You bet. Were we winning a cup with Gudbranson as a top D-man and Talon's constant rotation of aging vets, Yager set aside? Probably not. But certainly when discussing how the Panthers went from annual doormats to the class of the NHL, Dale Talon deserves to be mentioned with high praise and recognition. We may not have ever said this before as Panther fans, but thanks, Dale. You did good.